What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another Madden 17 online game. This is the 32-team preview series for the upcoming NFL season. That means we are covering all 32 teams, yes, even the Cleveland Browns. I could wrap up this Browns preview in like 5 seconds and say the Browns are going to suck next year and call it a day, and no one will really disagree besides maybe like 5 people, but that's not what we're here to do. Even teams like San Francisco and Cleveland are getting covered, even though they're probably not going to make the playoffs next year. What we really want to do here is kind of play devil's advocate and say what happens, if they do good next year, and look at their future prospects as well. Sometimes with the really good teams, you got to play devil's advocate and say what can go wrong, because even though they're probably not going to go wrong, you just got to cover all scenarios, cover all bases. So with the Cleveland Browns, things are not looking good this year, but they're definitely trying to build for the future. And the future for the Cleveland Browns has been a problem for years, because in order to have a good future, you have to have a good quarterback leading the way. And as you guys know, it's pretty infamous how bad the Browns quarterback situation has been for years. By the way, I put snow in the background for this game because, I mean, we might as well make a Browns game fun. It's hard to make a Browns game fun, so why not put the snow? Unfortunately, my opponent he wore his home jerseys for some reason, so it looks pretty ugly. So, I mean, it's a Browns game. But they drafted Deshaun Kaiser in the second round of this year's draft. The Browns are loading up on draft picks the last couple of years, and they took Kaiser out of Notre Dame, and that could be their guy. Kaiser, I mean, whenever I watch Notre Dame, I told you I don't watch much, but I mean, quarterback situations, you can see a couple of them step up on the big stage, and Notre Dame had a lot of national games, and watching Kaiser, I mean, he definitely has potential to be an NFL quarterback, but is he going to be the franchise guy? We got to see. Obviously, Cody Kessler is still around. They traded for Brock Osweiler, or Brock Osweiler's contract, I should say, not really Brock Osweiler. I don't even know who's going to start week 1 for them. I really don't think they should be starting Brock Osweiler, but I mean, it's the Browns, so they might do it anyways. So the Browns, they have Hugh Jackson as their coach, and he's around for this season. He's not fired, so, that's nice that the Browns aren't firing a coach because they didn't win more than 5 games with a shitty roster. But, they're building for the future, like I said, and there's a lot of young guys that need to develop. The problem is for the Browns is it's a really good formula. Building through the draft, getting a bunch of draft picks, trading for Brock Osweiler's contract to get a second-round pick next year. But you've got to draft good players in order for this plan to go through. It's nice to get the draft picks, but if you don't get the players, you're going to continue being bad, and especially if you don't get the quarterback. So, there's a chance if Kaiser's not the guy and Kessler's not the guy, and the Browns are stuck in futility for more years to come. Now, the one good thing about the Cleveland Browns is their offensive line. The one good thing that they have going for them is the fact that they definitely beat up the offensive line. Last year, their QBs got sacked by far the most of any team, so they decided to give up on Cameron Irving pretty much and get J.C. Treader from the Packers. They got Zeitler from the Bengals, and Bitonio and Thomas are still on the left side of the offensive line, so that should give whoever's playing behind center at least a chance to not get absolutely murdered when they're trying to wait for a wide receiver to get open. That's probably not going to get open, because unless Corey Coleman's taking a step this year, they don't really have too many weapons to pass the football to. They did draft a tight end in the first round this year, Joku, I believe. I don't want to mispronounce his name, so I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but the tight end out of Florida. They got 3 first-round picks this year, and the first 2 times they drafted in the first round this year, they spent it on defensive players. They got Myles Garrett, #1 overall pick out of Texas A&M, and they got Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers was a very hyped-up player out of Michigan, and he's probably going to be playing linebacker in the NFL, even though he played a lot of safety. But, he's a diverse player. They might bring him in the box. We'll see exactly what the Browns do. They have a pretty good collection of linebackers. They have Jamie Collins, and we did it earlier with the Logan Ryan thing, but it's TBD if Jamie Collins is part of the system or a really good player. He's a really athletic player, so we'll see if, he doesn't lose interest just because he got paid by the Browns. And then they also have Kersey. I like Kersey. So it's a good collection of linebackers. This is not a bad front 7 on the Browns right now. You got Danny Shelton. It's just that, they got to find some pass rushers in this draft, and it's obviously why they drafted Myles Garrett. They're hoping Emmanuel Ogbah, who they drafted, I believe, last year, kind of steps up. They drafted him in the second round last year. We'll see what he does. But yeah, that really is the problem with the Browns. It's just that, especially in the first round, they haven't really ever gotten value in the last couple of years. Trent Richardson, Justin Gilbert, Mingo. These are guys that just haven't stepped up. Cameron Irving was drafted 19th overall in 2015. Danny Shelton, I really like Danny Shelton. I thought he was pretty good last year, and he's a good run stuff and defensive tackle. He's someone that can help them improve their run defense. They just need other pieces to step up. It's just a matter of who, because when you look at this Browns, their drafts the last couple of years, there's no one really in town that's going to turn around this franchise for the next year or two, and that's really scary. So you know, it's hard to look at the last couple of drafts and say, oh yeah, we can count on these guys to come through. I mean, Ogba might end up turning the corner this year and be really good. He had 6 sacks last season. Corey Coleman can turn the corner, but I mean, it feels like it was a lost draft almost for the Browns unless those guys turn it around, just like all the other drafts. So this year's draft, you know, like I said, they have 3 first-round picks, and with second-round pick, they drafted DeShone Kizer. And third-round pick, which was the first pick of the third round, almost like a late second-rounder. They got a defensive tackle to try to improve one of the worst rushing defenses last year. The Browns did have a pretty good rushing attack offensively last year. It's just that they never really got a chance to run the ball because they were down 50 every single time. So you can't run the ball when you're down 50. But, you know, Isaiah Crowell, I think, you know, rushed for 1,000 yards last year. And Duke Johnson, he's been okay as a, you know, receiving running back. So having that combination going into this year isn't too bad. As long as one of those or two of those wide, they have Kenny Britt. Kenny Britt could be a solid, you know, 1B receiver next to Coleman. So there is a chance that the Browns offense might not be too bad next year if Kizer or Cody Kessler can step up. I'm not counting on Brock Osweiler to be the guy because, let's be real, he's probably not going to be the guy. But there's a chance the Browns offense isn't too bad. Unfortunately, their defense probably not going to look too good next season. They got Calvin Pryor through a trade, and I mean, it might as well be worth the risk for them and see what Pryor is worth. And if not, he's off the books anyways. You don't got to worry about him. So we'll see how that works out. But, I mean, their secondary, you got, I don't even know who's starting at free safety for them. They got Joe Hayden, and Hayden was really inconsistent last year. And we don't know how much Joe Hayden can still bring to the table. They got Jason McCourty kind of randomly. And we'll see if McCourty can still continue to be a solid player in the NFL. And they also have Jamar Taylor and a couple of other guys. So, I mean, probably not looking good for the Browns. But like I said, looking for the future, looking to develop these young guys. But you don't want to ruin their development by putting them on a bad team. And you know, when you put them on a bad team, you teach them bad habits. And it's habits that's hard to shake. So hopefully these young guys aren't spoiled and they can kind of come together and not get completely torched next season. Because an 0-16 season is realistic for the Browns, and it won't help these guys. It won't really help these guys develop. It's just frustrate them and make them retire early like Calvin Johnson, even if they're good, you know? If you don't win, it really does frustrate players mentally more than anything else, along with the physical toll with the game. And the Calvin Johnson story with the Lions shows that. Calvin pretty much said, yeah, I'd still be playing football if I wasn't under contract with a perennial loser. So the Browns really got to shake that. Their draft next year, there's a lot of chances to turn around. 2 second-round picks. You know, of course, they did the trade with the Eagles to give up the number 2 overall pick in last year's draft. And they've been wheeling and dealing with the Texans to get their first and second-round picks next year. So they have that. They have their own picks. And then they have another second-round pick. And then they have an extra third-round pick. So they're definitely stocking up. But it's just got to come down to the draft for the Browns. You got to draft decent players. And the Browns just haven't done that yet. The formula is good. The execution is not. That is the bottom line. The new Browns front office is trying to change the narrative. TBD, what happens? Myles Garrett, number 1 overall pick, could be a game-changing kind of player. If he can impact the Browns the way Joey Bosa has the Chargers defense, that would be fantastic. Because Bosa really was a game-changer when he stepped on the field last season. So if Garrett can provide that, because he was pretty much the consensus number 1 overall pick in this year's draft, that would be fantastic for the Browns. You just got to find other big-time playmakers, and you got to find those blue-chip players. It's one thing to find a bunch of role players and put them together, but you got to have a couple of blue-chip players to really stand out, and really the Browns do not have a single blue-chip player on the roster besides Joe Thomas. Maybe Bitonio, he's been pretty good throughout his career. Danny Shelton might be one of those guys, and then you got Myles Garrett potentially. Besides that, really not anyone else. And, of course, the quarterback position, you get a blue-chip quarterback player, that would obviously change the narrative of everything. If Kaiser's that guy, and maybe Kessler. You know, obviously you don't want to be too high on Kessler because I don't think the Browns are, but he wasn't too bad his rookie year. So we'll see what they bring on the table for the Cleveland Browns. That'll pretty much wrap it up for this video. The Browns offense could be potentially decent. Their defense might still get torched. That's pretty much the story. We actually won with the Browns. I don't know how the hell we did this. It was so confusing to play this game. It's snowy. It's hard to see. The jerseys look the same, but we somehow pulled it out. So leave a like in the video if you guys enjoyed it. Browns fans, do you guys think you're going to have a surprise season? Let me know. If you guys think that you like what you got going on in the future, you like some of the young talent, you like the general direction of this, new front office. Let me know how you guys feel. Of course, it all comes down to who you draft, though. And let me know if you guys feel good about the young talent more than anything else. Who really stands out to you that could be an impact player for the Browns? Because it's kind of hard for me to know that. I really don't watch much Cleveland Browns football, right? I don't watch teams that go 1-15, all right? Sorry, Browns fans, but leave a like if you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. Let me know what you guys think about the Browns, and I will catch you guys next time.